Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Podcasts from the Plateau. Coming to you live from the Cumberland Plateau in beautiful East Tennessee. And today we're talking about the story of...
Baby Bear!
AKA,
our miracle dog.
AKA Higgins, the wonder dog, the miracle dog. And we are going to share his whole life story. And you're going to want to stay tuned because it does involve a legitimate miracle. I'm not joking about that. And you're going to hear about a video going viral. And not viral for us, viral for anybody.
Virable for anybody.
Virable. And you're going to learn some new words that I make up because I can't talk good.
You talk beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you.
Right.
So let's get right into it. Let's start from the beginning. So how does the story all begin?
All right. Well, I was walking along one day with my husband, and we saw a pair of very fine-looking dogs. So we went up and asked the man all about them, and he said that they were Shiba Inus. And we thought, oh, they're perfect. They're tiny.
They're fluffy.
They're fluffy, they're quiet, and they're cat-like. So they're very clean animals. So I was hooked on the thought of getting one.
And that is Higgins you hear barking
Yeah.
in the background. I think you heard me whistle.
Let me see if we can stop him. Higgins,
Higgins,
it's fine.
It's okay, baby.
Good job.
No, he's got all the
All
neighbor,
the other
neighbor dogs that are
going.
barking.
Well, anyway, so I really wanted one. However, I found that they were extremely expensive. So then one day, somebody found an alternative on the internet.
That's right. One day I was just going through Craigslist, and lo and behold, I found not a Shiba, but a half Shiba. It was half Shiba and half Blue Heeler. And I thought, well, that's probably the best we can afford. And it was very affordable. They were actually selling the pups. They had several pups, and they were selling them for $300, which for a Shiba Inu, you can pay upwards of $2,000 for those. So
Yeah.
300 was like, wow. And we thought, sometimes mixed dogs are better because they have, more genetics makeup, and
better health.
purebreds often have bad health. So I was like, well, maybe it'll look kind of like the Shiba, which the pups looked more Shiba-ish than Heeler, and which is kind of how he turned out. So we decided to go take a look at the pups, and we got to meet the parents. The mom was the full Shiba, and the dad was the Blue Heeler.
True Shiba, because
Yeah.
we met her, and as soon as we met her, she took off running.
Yeah, the people kind of let her out of the yard to meet us, and then she just went up the street, and they had to go running after her and get her back. But the sad part of the story is we found out the people were adopting these dogs out way too young. I think they were 5 weeks old. And this was during the pandemic. And if you don't remember, everybody was adopting dogs. Dogs were flying off the shelf, which is weird that they would put dogs on a shelf. But anyway, so what we decided to do, well, first, we ironically didn't adopt Higgins, the dog that we have now. We adopted one of his sisters and took her home. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, they're going to sell all these dogs, even though it's too early to sell them. They're going to sell them anyway. And we knew they would go fast, and we thought, well, it would probably be beneficial to their health if we can at least keep the siblings together, and then we would take good care of them. Give them like extra stuff in their diet that they need, because they're not they weren't ready to be weaned off their mom. But we knew that these people just wanted the money, and they just wanted to get rid of the pups.
Well, we kind of did it for ourselves as well, because as I recall, Bonnie, the first dog that we bought, she was not happy being alone at night.
Oh yeah, she would just cry all night. So we thought that'll also help out that she'll have some companions. So I called the people back up. They still had two pups left, and I think that they had several people lined up that wanted to come and see them. And I said, we will come right away, and we'll take them both. So they were like, sure, well, yeah, whatever. So we went right down there and bought the other two pups. Also, a little bit of it was opportunism because I knew I could sell them for more than 300 because during the pandemic, people were paying 300 for like total mutts that were like 2 years old. So I was like, we can keep them together, keep their health good, and then I know I can maybe make a few bucks.
Yeah, but we did wait
Yeah,
a bit
so
longer. We waited until they're about 8 weeks. And
which
in
is
the
when they should go.
In the meantime, we gave them the yogurt with the cultures in it so that their tummies could be a little bit more prepared for the world.
Right,
Yeah.
and then we kept them together and we took very good care of them. We gave them attention day and night and just made sure that they were safe and happy and warm and all that good stuff. And then when it came time, then we put them up for adoption. And that's when we actually decided to keep the boy, Higgins, instead of the girl that we had originally chosen. And why did we do that?
Well, I loved the girl that we originally chose because she was so smart. I could teach her how to play fetch in a matter of seconds, being a 5-week-old puppy. And also I could teach her how to use the doggy door within minutes because she was so smart. She was that smart. Even though Higgins ended up being the smartest dog we ever owned as an adult, she was the smartest puppy ever by far that I've come across. But she was a bit aggressive when it came to our kitty cat, and we cannot have our kitty cat being harassed.
Didn't want an aggressive dog because we also had other farm animals at the time. And we had problems with 2 other dogs that we adopted and had to rehome because they were aggressive towards the animals. So we were like, any aggression, not going to work.
Yeah, and he also pointed out that it's better to keep the male Shiba Inu rather than the female because the males in that breed tend to be more obedient and more cuddly, whereas the females are aloof like a kitty cat and don't come when they're called like a kitty cat.
So anyway, so we put them up online and found 2 really great homes for them. People that really adored them, and one of the people, for like up to a year or 2 later, was sending us photos of the girl and all the adventures they were going on with them. That was really neat. And so we knew they went to really phenomenal homes and they were going to be well taken care of. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that despite our best efforts, I don't think that Higgins really turned out to be the healthiest of dogs. He always had some joint problems, and that figured into this one of many miracles that he has influenced upon us.
Yeah, right. So yeah, around this time, we ended up selling our home and moving from Oregon all the way to Kansas, aka the middle of nowhere, the heartland of America. And we ended up living, after a small stint in one place, in one town, we ended up in a beautiful house out on the prairie. And that could have been one of the issues we had. It was beautiful out there. You can see forever. One of our favorite things was storm watching. But this might not have been the best place for a doggy. You want to tell them why?
We love to take him for walks along these dirt roads back there. And they were so great because you could find all this old pioneer paraphernalia along the walks. It was so much fun. And he loved it. He loved to run. But the soil and the surrounding air was tainted.
Tainted love.
Yeah, so it didn't end up being too good for him because even though the farmers would try not to spray around our house, eventually everything would probably be inundated with these chemicals.
Yeah,
and he was a sensitive puppy.
Yeah, and there were days when we actually saw the fields being sprayed when the wind was blowing toward our house. And we think that, some days we weren't there to always, if we knew they were spraying, we'd have him indoors or we'd take him and go into town or something. But there were days when we were gone and he was just outside in his kennel, and I'm sure he ingested some of that spray. And we are highly suspicious. I can't prove anything, but we're highly suspicious that had to do with his downturn in health. And so long story short, after 2 years in Kansas, we ended up deciding to try somewhere new. So we decided to move from Kansas a little further east over to Eastern Tennessee. And what had happened was the day we went to move, we had our U-Haul all loaded up. We were staying the night at her mom's place, planning to leave the next morning. And he started having something kind of funny that night, and we were not sure what was going on.
Yeah, he had meningitis before, and a meningitis in a canine is different than it is in people. In people, it's caused by a bug, a virus, fungus, things like that. But with a dog, it can just be an irritation to the system, such as by chemicals.
Yeah.
And so he had experienced that before, where he lost the use of his back legs, but luckily he did respond to steroids and did a full recovery. But we suspect he might have had a relapse at that point.
Yeah, and much thanks to the vets at KU. They really were helpful in getting him through that bout.
Right.
And our local vet, they were like throwing their hands up like, we don't know. Try the university, veterinary. They have stuff that we don't have. And so they ended up helping him bounce back. That was, 6 months to a year before this. So then fast forward, we're going to move. Night of the move, he starts getting sick again. So of course we fear the worst, like, oh no, it's going to be another one of these crippling things, which cost us a pretty penny, which we did not want to go through again and couldn't afford to go through again.
Well, let me do an autocorrect on that one, because he had started having problems with his back leg. So we kind of thought maybe it was just a pulled muscle. So we were hopeful that it really wasn't maybe it was in the back of our minds that, it's a relapse. But we were hopeful it was just a pulled muscle and that we could come and collect him at a later date after you've gone to the vet.
So what we decided to do on the day we left, that morning we could tell he was kind of in a bad way. So we had a 2-day drive ahead of us. And we didn't want to risk having him wait 2 days and then probably a third day before we could get him to a vet at our new spot. So we just decided to leave him with Mom, who could get him straight to the local vet first thing in the morning the next day. It was the next day that we decided to do this. And so she was just going to keep him in Kansas until we came back for a visit, which was going to work out well. Then we could get settled into our new place without having to, worry about a dog. And Mom loved having him around. So she was excited about it. So she took him to the vet, and, we went about our move. And so we got to Kansas. We were unloading all our stuff. And the vet was kind of giving us little updates, but they weren't really sure what was going on. And then, so at this point, he'd been there, I'm not sure exactly how many days, 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, I think he was only in there a week total, so I think you're
right. So I think it was like 3 or 4 days he'd been there, and the vet said, they called and said, I've got bad news. I think Higgins has reached his end, and we're going to need to put him down. And we were just so sad. He said he's been in the corner of his kennel, and he has not gotten up once since you guys left. They said, we have to go in there and, help him alleviate himself. They had to squeeze him and help him to use the bathroom.
Really aggressive.
Yeah, he would get really aggressive.
Like, Mom would come and visit him.
Right.
To try to make him, but she couldn't do much because he had gotten fairly aggressive.
Yeah, and they said he wouldn't stand up. So he was just laying on the ground for days without even standing up. And the vet said, it doesn't look like there's any improvements. We have basically exhausted everything we can do. We think it's his time and he's going to need to be put down. So this was a devastating thing for us. We really loved this dog. We'd now had him for almost 3 years, I believe. And so we said, well, we want to be there. Can you, keep him going for, I said, we can be there in 2 days. It's a 2 days drive out there. And so they were like, yeah, we can do that. So we hopped in our car immediately and headed back to Kansas. Got there as quick as we could. Went straight to the vet. And we brought Mom along as well. And we went in the clinic, saw him, and we could tell he was just in a bad way. He was miserable. no quality of life. He was just, even when he saw us, you know, his eyes kind of perked up a little bit maybe, but he couldn't get up. He was just slumped in the corner of the kennel.
Yes, to say he was just like a shadow of this glorious, beautiful dog that we knew.
Yeah, with so much energy he always had, it was all gone. And so we were having that hard conversation with the vet as to how it was going to go. He was telling us, you know, the procedure and stuff. And then he went to get his stuff ready, you know, the drugs or whatever it is they give them to put them to sleep before they do their deed. And so we were just there with him. And then I just turned to Corrine and I said, you know, we've come all this way. Let's go and pray for him, because, I mean, if God wants him to live, it's in God's hands. It's not what the vets say or what we want.
Yeah, let me say something. So I was in the cage with him, petting him, and he does not like grime and, well, I mean, nobody does really, but he really doesn't like it. He doesn't like,
she bathes in
grime. Like feces and stuff, because he was covered in feces.
Yeah,
they couldn't really clean him because he was so aggressive. So I was in there and petting him and stuff. And so this guy came all the way in there and put his hands on the dog, and I knew, like, oh wow, like he really wants him to get better if he came all the way in there.
So we gathered around the dog and we put our hands on him and just started praying for him. And I remember saying something like, God, if you want Higgins to live, he can get up and walk out of this kennel on his own. And we know that you're in control, and we're asking you for this miracle. If not, you know, we'll say goodbye to him, but we know that you are in control, and you can fix this dog if you choose to. And as soon as we said amen, what happened?
He stood up, and he hadn't stood up for days, and his condition was getting worse and worse and worse. He shouldn't have had the ability to stand up.
And we didn't say, come on, boy, stand up. We didn't say anything. We just said amen. And it was like, as soon as we said amen, he just stood to his feet. And we were like, whoa. And then right about then, the vet comes back into the room. And the vet's like, whoa, what's going on? Like, how did you get him to stand up? And I just said, we prayed for him. And I guess God wants us to give him an extra chance. So we'd like to take him with us and just see what happens, since he just showed like a massive improvement. And the vet was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And so they said, we'll clean him up, get him ready for the travel. And so they took him and bathed him. And because, I mean, yeah, like she said, he was covered in, you know, we won't discuss what he was covered in, but it was gross. And they cleaned him up, and we, you know, wrapped him in a blanket, took him, put him in the car, and just floored it back to Tennessee. And, you know, we were making phone calls on the way, trying to get a vet appointment lined up. And we eventually did get a vet lined up. So as soon as we got there, we took him in, got some, you know, different steroids, or I don't know, what did they give him?
Yeah, they started him on a really heavy antibiotic regimen because they figured maybe he had some sort of Lyme disease as well. And they also gave him some steroid, and they berated me quite a bit because I was taking some dosages into my own hands, and they were saying like how that could really harm him. And I was thinking in the back of my mind, perhaps, but he was about to be put down, so I wanted to take a chance to save him.
Right.
But yeah, it started a really difficult period in both of our lives because he had gotten a toe amputated while he was staying with the
on that same final visit. Yeah.
So
totally unrelated. He just had arthritis in a toe.
He's a clever dog, and he loves puzzles. And one of his favorite puzzles during this time was to get out of his cone, unwrap his bandage, and tear open the stitches so that he would bleed everywhere.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of emergencies during this time as well. and he was not able to relieve himself at will. So he would defecate on himself, and we would have to squeeze him out to pee. And this whole time, he was quite aggressive. He did not
He didn't like being touched.
Being messed with when he wasn't feeling good. And we couldn't get any sleep at night. We had to check on him and clean up after him because
sometimes multiple times in one night.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like
it was like having a newborn. I would imagine,
because we would hear him like squealing and messing around, and we're like, oh, we knew we had to get up and clean it all up and make him comfortable again, because he's a very clean dog at nature, and he hates being sitting in his own feces. He hates it. He's a very clean animal, and so in order for us to be able to get any sleep, for him to settle down and go back to sleep, we'd have to get up, clean it all up, make sure he's comfortable again, and make sure that he doesn't tear out his stitches so that we don't have to go running off to Food City at 1 a.m. to get some cornstarch to stop the bleeding.
Right.
It was such a trying, terrible time. The whole time we were asking other people in his YouTube channel and everywhere, we're asking our friends and family, please pray for this dog. He was getting better, but it was such a slow progress.
Right.
It was so hard. It was terrible.
But that was the thing. Progress was the key. We noticed, after the first week, like he was a little better. So, that was kind of our thing. As long as he's getting better and not getting worse and getting more pain and misery, because we knew that we may still have to put him down, because we're like, it's inhumane to keep a dog in a state of suffering. So we noticed though after the first week, like, okay, he's getting a little bit, he still has some pain, but he has improved. So that's what we were looking for, was improvement. And every week he'd get a little tiny bit better.
Yeah, and then he would do some backsliding as well.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating.
So
we were so
he'd get a little better and then have a little downturn, but he would always end up a little better. And it was just a long winter.
Yeah,
so
I
we went
so
through this.
Unhappy.
Yeah, so we arrived in Tennessee. It was like late October, I think, or mid-October.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so the rest of October, November, December, terrible times for us.
Yes.
And then I think it was probably like January we started seeing like some and remember, he could stand up, but he couldn't really walk, and both of his back legs were really wonky. And when he would start walking, he would not use one of them. I think it was his left one, he wouldn't use at all. And the right one was kind of wonky, so he'd walk real weird, but we didn't let him walk very much. We tried to just have him resting the legs, and then just ever so slightly every week he'd get a little better, and then eventually like he got to the point where he would kind of jog a little bit on his own with 3 legs. He would lift the really bad leg completely off the ground and just do a little tripod run. And but over time and patience and love, he got to where he could use all 4 legs, and he was still wobbly, but he kept getting better. And we'd just take him on little short walks. And then as his legs would improve, we'd go a little bit more and a little bit more.
And his little tail would start to lift a little bit. I knew as soon as his tail was up and wagging that he'd be fully recovered. It's still not that way. But I knew as soon as it's all the way up and wagging, he's done.
So yeah, it just, over time, he got to where he could use all 4 legs. And then eventually, no wobbling. He got to where he could just walk normal, even do a little jog, and like a normal, healthy pup. And it was so long coming. It was so hard to see, the little progress, but we would point it out to each other. Oh, look, he's doing this a little better and that. And so at this point, if we'll flash forward to here we are in mid-June. So remember, this all started mid-October. And here we are in mid-June, and he is, I would say, 90% healed. His only major problem is when he uses the bathroom, when he's got to go, number 2, it hurts. So he does this funny thing where he spins around because he's like trying to bite at his butt because it's hurting him. So he starts spinning because he's chasing his butt, and the poop will fly out. And then he he usually does it when we take him for a walk. And then whoever's walking him has to immediately pull him away because he's embarrassed by it. So he immediately tries to eat it, which he was not a poop eater. Some dogs are poop eaters. This guy was not. But it's the embarrassment, I believe. And so he'll spin around, it'll shoot out, and then he'll turn it. So we got to pull him away. And then the other person gets the little bag and cleans it up.
And then the other person says to the people watching, yes, he is okay. It just hurts when he has to go. He's getting better, though.
Yeah, because whenever there's somebody around, they think we're like totally abusing him because he shrieks because it hurts. So as soon as he poops, he, oh, oh, he sounds like he's in extreme pain. So everybody's like, oh, what's going on? Is he all right? What's going on? Or what are you guys doing?
Well, I think what happened is he had the meningitis. It's an inflammation of the fluid around your spinal cord. And so you could get quite a bit of nerve damage from that. And so what I think is that he got some nerve damage.
He's got some nerve.
Digestive system. And so that caused a lot of constipation. And then that's pressure on his anus, his back end. And so that can cause it to separate and make fissures. So until those heal up, he's getting slowly better, that we can expect there to be some pain when he has to go. But he is getting better. So he's a happy boy right now.
And then starting about 2 months ago, the weather started warming up here. And we live near a beautiful, beautiful lake. So Higgins loves to go swimming. So he was still, kind of dirty and stinky a lot. So we just thought, maybe now that the weather's warm, we'll let him jump in the lake and kind of rinse himself off.
Excellent exercise for him. It's not pressure on his joints, which is a little bit harder for him to use until recently. And we thought, hey, perfect exercise.
Yeah, so almost every day for the last month or two, we take him to the lake and we let him go for a swim. And usually he'll swim anywhere from 10, 15 minutes up to 30, 35 minutes. He loves to be in the water.
Yes.
In fact, usually we got to tell him it's time to go home, buddy, because I think he would just live in the lake if he could. If it was up to him, he would just stay in the water all the time. So it's been a really neat blessing to have that lake here where he can get that exercise.
So, okay, so we had been dropping him in the lake quite a bit, but before that happened, April 1st, you played a little joke on me. What did you do?
I don't know. You got to tell me because I don't remember.
He said hey, guess what? Guess what? One of our videos on the Baby Bear channel has gone viral and it has 200,000 views. I was like, really? I was kind of excited. And then he said, April Fools.
I had to do something to get her.
I think we prayed about it, or I think I remember praying about it afterwards, thinking oh, that would be so great. And praying oh, Lord, can we have that? Can we have a viral video?
And for those that don't know, we have several YouTube channels, one of which is over 10 years old. And we have been when we started it, it was just a hobby, but we've been putting more work into our YouTube channels. And our goal is to someday maybe make a living doing YouTube videos. So we've always, been hoping for, a viral video or two, because those can really help your channel. But we haven't had one. And so we kind of glossed over something, which is that we started a channel for the dog while we were in Kansas. The channel's, I think, 2.5 years old or maybe 2 years old.
And we did not pay any attention to it. We'd work hard on our other channels, but we didn't pay any attention to
the only
the
thing we would do is he's always doing funny and cute things. So basically the purpose of the channel was we mainly just made short videos. Just whatever he was doing, I'd pull out my camera and shoot it whenever he was doing something funny, and I'd post it. So we didn't spend a lot of time editing videos or doing anything. It was just kind of a fun channel for us to have all these videos to look back on of him. And we never really thought anything big would come of it.
What happened?
We thought our channels that we were putting lots of work into, those would be the channels.
Well, maybe someday.
So one day when we were at the lake, she was going to, what we like to do is drop him in off the end of the dock and let him start his swim, which he loves. And because sometimes he's timid to go in, but once he's in, he's just happy as a plum, and he'll just swim and swim and swim. But he needs that little encouragement to get in. Happy as a pig with a plum, I guess. So it was an evening, but it was a nice warm evening, and she was going to drop him in. Or was this in the morning?
It was an overcast, rainy day.
Was it?
But it wasn't cold.
Yeah, no, it wasn't cold. I don't remember, because we've actually done this so many times. But she was going to put him in, and I said, "Oh wait, let me make a little video while you're dropping him in." So she just did what she usually does, which is he walks out to the end of the dock with her, and she just holds him over and kind of sets him in the water. And so I just stood on the shore with my silly camera, with my phone, this phone, and I just filmed her dropping him in, and then he swam to shore, and then he splashed around a little bit, and that was it. And I made a little short of it, put it up on the channel, didn't think much of it. I think it got a few dozen views or something, and we went about our merry way. And I actually ended up making several more of the same video, and really, to no fanfare, they'd always get a few views, a few comments, and then all of a sudden, the original one that we made, one day I just was looking at our stats, and I was like, and she had forgotten all about the channel. I was the only one checking it, because I was like, you never know. And one day I was like, that video from a couple weeks ago, all of a sudden it's doing a lot better than it usually does. And then it was like, started monitoring it again, like maybe later in the day, or maybe it was the next day, and I'm like, whoa, it's doing really good. And then all of a sudden, so there's, if you look at the graph, it was kind of going like this with the views, and then all of a sudden it did this through the ceiling.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, how many views, what did we just pass? Do you know?
I think
It's
we
Michael
just
Jordan.
passed 23?
23
Million.
million views in 1 month's time.
I want to tell you a little something about that, though. So before I had a political channel, and I did have one video that went viral, and it had about 1 million views. And then I was deplatformed, and so then I
Had to shut her down.
Yes, then I thought, I'm just going to shut down the whole channel, because you know how YouTube is. They deplatform you, and they probably harass you till the end of your time. So I just thought, okay, I'll just distance myself from that channel then. And then I thought about it, and I thought, I could have, so many people all around the world saw that video. I could have used it to witness for God, and I totally botched it. And so when this started happening, I thought, okay, God, I guess here's my second chance. And so I put John 3:16 on and pinned it to the top of the video, and also had it in all these, well, eventually I changed it so it'd be all these different languages. And so potentially 23 million people saw that all-important Bible verse, which is
John 3:16?
yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, what's the verse? What does it say?
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Amen.
And I hope everybody out there knows that, because we're getting near the end of times. But anyway, that's a whole nother show. But so what was neat too about watching this video go viral, just watching, especially once it started hitting the hundreds of thousands and into the millions, is first it made its rounds throughout the U.S., which it still is. And here's the fun thing: the video is still going at, like, I think it's going at like 5,000 views every 2 hours, and it's petering out. The graph is coming down, but it's still growing faster than any video we've ever done.
It was going like at 100,000 views an hour at one point.
Yeah, over 100,000 views
awesome.
an hour.
It's so exciting.
I think it actually reached like well over 200 at some points. I'll have to go back and check. I was doing screenshots like every day because I just couldn't believe like what was happening.
So what were the top? After you say that, like, tell us what the top 3 comments were.
Oh yeah, but what was neat is, first it was all American comments, and then all of a sudden we started noticing, YouTube is now sending it around the world because comments started pouring in, and this was after it was viral in the U.S. for 2 or 3 weeks. Comments started pouring in like all types of languages. Thank God that Google has the translate thing so we could read them. Yeah, there was like Russian and Indian and
Chinese.
I don't even know.
How is the Chinese?
Yeah,
Korean too.
So there was. Well, I don't know what your third one is, but I'll tell you the 2 that I can think of, the main comments. One comment. This is the overwhelmingly main comment. So the main comment people leave are, "Oh, what a cute dog, and he's having so much fun. What a great time he's having."
Right.
And that's overwhelming the most. But right behind that, well, not right behind, but a distance behind that, the second place comment is, "Cruelty to animals. How can you throw that poor dog in the lake? And there could be alligators in there." Some people have even said, "What about sharks?" And I'm like, it's a lake. There's no sharks.
What is the third comment about?
Oh, are you in Florida?
That's the top 3 comments.
Everyone's worried
over and over and over
I'm
again.
Like, why would we be in? Why would you randomly? You see a dog, it could be anywhere in the world. Why would you be like, is that Florida? Because they're worried about alligators.
Nothing like Florida here.
But I think that's part of what made it go viral, is that there were so many positive and so many negatives. So there's all these people conflicting, and YouTube's like controversy. Yeah. Let's send it out there. But yeah, a lot of people were hopping mad, and then a lot of people were even saying like, "That looks so cold," and I'm like, it's not. We live in the South.
Like,
it's
where
not
do you
cold.
live where you think that looks cold?
Just because it's overcast doesn't mean it's cold. And people just assuming all kinds of. Some people were like, "What if he wouldn't have been able to swim?" Like, what?
Maybe,
you think we would throw a dog?
We can swim.
You think we would drop a dog off a dock, not knowing? I mean, this is a full-grown dog. People, obviously, we have figured out by this point that he can swim. Like, why would people think we have this full-grown adult dog and we have no idea if he can swim, and we're just gonna drop him in the water and find out?
Why would some people think? It's like everybody.
A lot of people thought that. Yeah.
But I love YouTube. I love all the comments that we get. It's so much fun.
Yeah, we have a blast. And thankfully, most of them are positive, but there is a lot of negative ones too.
Yeah.
But it's funny to see all the assumptions people make. They get pretty angry sometimes.
Right. I remember another video that created a lot of controversy. I got tons of comments about is I did a video about, "Oh, isn't this great? We have seedless lemons now. That's so great because I hate having to pick out the lemons in the lemon slices." I mean, the seeds in the lemon slices. And so I got so many negative comments like, "Oh, you're destroying all of agriculture right there." And I'm like, I didn't even know. I didn't even think about that.
So anyway, we are thankful that we're thankful to God that we got this opportunity to have this video go viral and share it with people all over the world. And now what we've been doing on that channel is most every day we'll walk him down to the lake for a swim. Only now we film it live, and we get people tuning in from all over the world. And we've had a lot of opportunity to share God with them. We'll often share his story. I'll usually share like a very abbreviated version of the story we just shared with you, how he basically was on death's door and God chose to heal him. So I've been able to share this with people all over the world. And it's funny because this channel was not something we were ever super excited about, but this is the one that God decided to use to bless people all over.
He usually uses the underdog, and he used the underdog in this.
The literal underdog.
Yeah, so that we know that it is God.
Yeah, it's not us, because the channels we worked hard on, like this one, DIY American.
It's okay.
This is our oldest channel. This is a DIY channel, obviously. And we've had this for over 10 years and have put in a lot of work on this channel. And it's grown. It's a reasonable channel.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about how many subscribers we have now.
Oh, my goodness. So, 1 month ago, before this started, well, actually, let's go back 2 months ago. I remember hitting my first 500 on that channel. I was excited. I was like, 500, I'm halfway to 1,000, because 1,000 is a big number, because then you can become eligible for monetization. And then it was like a month later, I got to 600, and I was like, oh, this is cool, this is growing. And then it went from 600 to 50,600. And now it's more. I think we're heading toward 52,000 subscribers. And in a month, we basically added 50,000 subscribers and counting.
Yeah, and this channel that we worked the hardest at,
Slaved away at.
we were like really trying to make it to 10,000 this year. Really trying.
And we might get there.
We might get there, but like this one is just like.
I think we're at like 8,000 on this guy, right?
Yeah.
And then our corn-fed life that you're watching right now, I think that's getting near 4,000. So yeah, these channels that we've worked hard on combined for a total of 12,000 subscribers. Meanwhile, this one that we put no effort into is now well over 50,000 subscribers, which is mind-blowing.
God to continue to bless it, so we wanted to use it in the purpose that He set us out to use it for. So we have to always keep that in mind instead of getting overly selfish about things. So we were really grateful about this. We know that it wasn't us that did it.
It is not our best work.
Yes. So
it still blows my mind. I'm like, we have videos that we've slaved away for hours putting together, shooting, assembling. I mean, not all of them. We do a lot of junk videos too. But a lot of videos we put a lot of work into. And then this video is just a quick short that I shot in like 30 seconds. Probably took me a couple minutes to edit it
that
and
speaks
threw it
to
up.
the entire world.
Yeah, and that's the one that YouTube decided to send, and apparently everybody wanted to receive it. So go figure. And then I hope that's an inspiration for you too, for people that have small channels. Like, don't give up. I know people used to say that. I used to hear this all the time. Don't give up. That next video might be your viral video. And I just would think, yeah, right.
Yeah, whatever.
I wish, but yeah, probably not. And then boom, there it is. And it was the video I least thought would do that. And that's the one that God used to help our channel just go through the roof. And a channel we weren't even that excited about. But it just shows that, God's ways are not our ways.
Yeah, we were thinking about through this very trying time. Trying time. We were thinking, God, why are you doing this to us? It's so difficult. And He's like, well, yeah, to make him into a YouTube star. Wow.
Yeah, if we would have known that, it would have made it a little easier. Yeah, because, we didn't even know if he was going to make it, period. Hey, we've got some guests.
Get some neighbors.
Anyway, I think that we've pretty much told the whole story now. And we will link the video either somewhere up here, or if not, it'll be in the description, so you can watch the glorious, 30-second video.
It'll
for
change
yourselves.
your life. Well, maybe you will. Who knows?
But we appreciate you all tuning in, and we hope God richly blesses you and gives you a wonderful week. And thanks for watching the podcast on the Plateau.